They got it again. Can you repeat that?
Oh, I just said got it when you hit recording
I
started.
no, I know what you said. I needed to make sure that it was actually picking your audio up and everything. It's been weird the last couple times and hadn't been
Oh,
picking everything up when I first opened it, so I had to make sure. That's why. I heard you. I just needed you to say something.
I was like, huh?
Welcome to Beerfield. I am your host, Chris Hopper, at Beerfield Hop with two P's. Joined by at Ryan Miner _ FFB. Ryan Miner. Dan Thury will be joining us a little bit later on. I believe, wasn't it trivia tonight? We honestly forgot he was going to be late, but then
It,
thought maybe we remembered it because that's how much attention we pay.
I think it was some finals thing, but then I don't remember because there was times where he said I'm gonna be late for trivia, but I don't remember if that was like last week or if it was from 3 months ago.
So if you're wondering how much attention we pay when Dan talks, neither one of us have a damn idea what he said other than I think he might have said he was going to be late and it might have been related to trivia. So we'll figure that out here in a little bit. Yeah, aside from that, we got news for you. We're going to talk news. Well, it's a lot of news and a lot of rumor stuff, and take a look at a couple quarterbacks that are worth the deeper dive just on their overall season from a dynasty perspective, and then talk a little bit about this week, because a lot of you are probably driving towards either a playoff berth or not a playoff berth. If you're not clinched, this is like the week for everybody that's on the fringe. If you're not clinched, then you're either fighting for seeding or you're fighting for a spot unless you're eliminated. I think those are all the options. Either way,
or the fun part. You could do the fun way of trying to say, do I really want to win this week? Because if I don't win, I can knock this person out. But I'm in anyways.
There's going to be a lot of decisions to be made. And there's going to be a lot of, you got to have a win at this stage. This is also, and I'll celebrate this again when Dan is here, not really a somber moment for me because I'm actually happy about this. This is the last fantasy football regular season episode of this podcast.
I know it seems like it's been forever this season, but it really hasn't been.
Seems like that every season, but we're at the end of the regular season grind and we'll be in playoffs, fantasy football playoffs anyway, before we know it, because that's next week. But until then, till we get there, drinking beer or something.
What's fueling Beerfield?
Ryan, what do you got?
I have 3 Scrooges winter ale today.
Oh,
It's by Griffin Claw.
nice.
Yeah.
I like the name first and foremost, but also I'm proud of you. It's not an IPA.
Yeah. You didn't know when I was going to do it. You're like, oh, he won't do it next week. Trust me, I had a 6-pack of IPA in my hand when I was at the party store. Here we call it party stores in Michigan, but most of you guys call it liquor stores.
Yeah,
I was like, you know what? I'm gonna change it up.
World's flipped upside down. I was after IPAs yesterday, but probably because I drank a lot of mediocre ones the day before, and I'm like, give me some hop. Like, after wanting hops for an entire night, I'm just like, give me some fucking. Anyway. Can't say too much about that. Right on. I am also drinking a winter beer because, like we talked about last week, there's about a bajillion different variants of these. Because you can throw spices in any beer and call it a winter beer. So I am drinking Holodots, which is from Toppling Goliath Brewing Company. I believe they are out of Chicago, which is cranberry apple cinnamon lager. So, Decorah, Iowa. My bad. Sorry about that. You guys actually probably hate that I said Chicago. They're out of Decorah, Iowa. Yeah. This is their classic Dorothy's Lager with cranberry apples and cinnamon for a delicious holiday treat. Unfiltered, sediments normal. So, more on that About halfway through the episode.
News.
I'm going to bottom up on my notes because the more fun stuff is at the top. Give Dan some time to show up. Kenny Pickett had ankle surgery on his high ankle sprain. Mitch Trubisky is starting the next 2 to 4 weeks.
And the Steelers look the same.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's like, okay, great. And so what changes? Absolutely nothing. It's just pretty lateral from one quarterback to the other there. Not ideally what you want, but pretty lateral. So, yeah, just treat him the same you have been. Titans punter Ryan Stonehouse also having season-ending knee surgery after having 2 kicks. He had a terrible day. 2 kicks blocked and a season-ending.
Yeah, that's not cool. Not cool at all.
Not a good day for a punter.
Never it is.
Nope. And he did give some fun moments with Nick Folk punting and Tannehill having to go back to holding for the first time since he was in Miami. But in any event, people don't realize how hard that is. Like
punting?
No, well, being a holder.
Oh, I was going to say punting is even harder than people think. It's like, oh, you just kick a football. It's like, no. Yeah. Try being a soccer player and kick a football and let's see how well it goes. Very few people can actually really do it.
Yeah, and very few people realize that as a holder, like, it's so much more than just catch the ball and spin the laces out. There's a lot of particulars into the angle of the ball and how high that needs to be, and you know, a lot
and
of
how you catch it.
A lot of it's on the long snapper, but yeah, how you catch it, the angle that needs to be at. Every kicker prefers it a little bit different. You got to have that type of relationship. So changing that out can throw your kicking rhythm off a bit, and we saw that on their first field goal after that. So punters are normally holders for their teams. So watch the Titans kicking game, I guess. I don't know. Punter news, I'm obligated to talk about it.
Kickers matter.
Yeah. Tank Dell broke his fibula, underwent season-ending surgery. Solid rookie year for Tank.
It was beyond solid rookie year. It wasn't just Tank, but I think he definitely helped CJ Stroud out a lot.
I think so too.
I'm curious to see what's going to happen this weekend with Stroud without Tank Dell.
Yeah. Now, Nico Collins did have a huge game, so it's good that Nico's there, and we've seen Noah Brown have some really big games. So it's not like the Texans are without depth or rapport there. They do have a tough matchup against the Jets this week.
And Dalton Schultz is back, possibly.
Yes, and Dalton Schultz is possibly back, so maybe not the best litmus test this week against the Jets. Bill's up in the 21-day window on Dawson Knox practicing, so he is on his way back and will probably reserve split duties with Dalton Kincaid. Darren Waller hopes to return for week 15, so preemptive notice if he is out there. Dallas Goedert practicing in full for week 14 should be back this week.
That is awesome news, especially for someone like me, because I had Trey McBride, because I picked him up because of Dallas Goedert, and who was the other guy? Darren Waller going down.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh man, I have no one for buys this week. And our waiver wire ended last week. So
really?
I was praying that he'd come back this week. Yeah. Yeah, they shut down the waiver wire a week before playoffs start.
Wow. That's unique, but sounds kind of fun. But yeah, Dallas Goedert. Might be good news for Jalen Hurts too in the run game. So just some things. Philly's been a little out of sync the last couple weeks, so especially last week. So hopefully getting Goddard back helps set that a little bit more right. Derek Carr practicing despite a concussion, a rib injury, and a shoulder injury. So maybe Jameis, maybe not. He's got a clear concussion protocol. And that seems to me that last year it kind of felt like concussions were a 1 week thing. I don't think anything changed with the protocol, but it seems like this year we've seen a lot of guys where concussions have been there missing at least a week.
Yes, I've been noticing that too.
Instead of last year.
So I'm kind of hoping that.
Go ahead.
I was saying I hope he does miss it just because I just want to see Winston play. I missed watching, throwback Jameis Winston and saying just fuck it down there somewhere.
Yeah, I want to see him play too, and it's the second concussion of the year, so he shouldn't. I don't feel he should come back same week given that, but
and his shoulder screwed up still.
Yeah, like Jameis will be fine. He had a couple amazing throws last week. One perfectly timed deflection, which I know he drew it up that way. But you don't lose a lot from going from Derek Carr to Jameis Winston if you're Chris Olave or Kamara or anything here either. You're going to actually probably end up with some deeper targets. So
yeah, even Taysom Hill.
Yeah, we saw Olave go up over 100 yards last week for the first time in what feels like forever. So not terrible news. Justin Jefferson back on track to return for his starting Joshua Dobbs, who was in question as a starter. So Vikings earlier in this or last week on their bye, so we didn't really talk about it, had discussions over which guy was going to start and who was going to be the hot hand, and turns out it is going to be Josh Dobbs, but probably a short leash.
I don't know, because they seem like they dragged their feet on it, because especially for waiver wire reasons. We didn't hear anything Monday, we didn't hear anything Tuesday, we didn't hear anything till early Wednesday about it.
No, we didn't hear anything about that starting wise, but if they were that on the fence, if he comes out and has a stinker of a first half, they could. That's a situation to monitor where they could end up making a mid-game change. I don't know why. Well,
Bailey Zappe's third touchdown right now.
Really?
Yeah, he just threw another one.
Huh. He's going to make me win.
Hunter Henry.
He's going to have me win somewhere I don't want to win.
You might lose the first overall pick in the listener league.
I might. Well, Nick has my first round pick.
Oh, does he?
Yeah. So I'm not even tanking for me. I was just accumulating. Because I'm like, well, now's the time. But yeah. So yeah, it's just helping Nick get a better pick, who doesn't really need it. But here we are. What happens when you misplay your hand so badly in such a deep league that you're to rebuild, you're going to be destined for multiple years. And there's just no.
Yeah, so some are saying it's a 2 to 3 year rebuild.
Not in that league. All right. Justin Jefferson, I already talked about that. Robbie Gould retired from the NFL after 16 seasons. So, Bears fan, best of luck in retirement. Really, really good player for us for a really, really long time, and then had almost a full second career with the 49ers. So, good for him.
Yeah, absolutely good for him.
Amari Cooper's in concussion protocol. Yeah, but they don't even know who's starting this week either. They're not committing to Joe Flacco. DTR is still concussed. Amari Cooper's in concussion protocol. Elijah Moore's flash, but are the Browns a total avoid the passing game now? Or 4 right now?
Yeah, I have no love for them unless it's Elijah Moore and or David Njoku right now. Yeah. But even then, you'll get David Njoku doing good, then next thing you know, it's a stinker the next game. So to me, I just call that the tight end position.
Yeah. But with Elijah Moore, somebody will have to step up and catch passes, but could be him, could be Cedric Tillman. We've seen a little bit more out of Moore, but it's not, Cooper's the unquestioned one there. So it's not good, especially when you're playing with the corpse of Joe Flacco and DTR to be in that situation. So be wary if you have Amari Cooper, if you're looking for fill-ins. Maybe look elsewhere. Who do they have? The Jags. Not a bad defensive matchup. Look at Elijah Moore. Hayden Hurst is dealing with post-traumatic amnesia following a concussion earlier in the year. He's returning to practice on a limited fashion, though. So that seems like something you shouldn't fuck around with.
You would not think so. Why would you fuck around with it? But especially this late in the season.
Right. And do you play for the Panthers?
I don't know.
You aren't exactly paying for anything.
Why?
Like, you're having memory issues because you've been hit too many times. Probably shouldn't be playing.
Well, he's already out.
Hmm.
Because
he's practicing.
They're saying he's really.
Yeah.
I thought they said he was out.
No, I just pulled from Roto World right before we sat down to record. The same day his dad announced he had post-traumatic amnesia, he was practicing. So maybe he's ruled out for this week already, but he was practicing. That doesn't mean he won't try to come back this year.
Ugh, I would. I'd be like, if I'm having that and I can't remember what's going on around me, don't let me play.
Yeah. Yep. That's what you'd hope. This is like choose your health, man. But best of luck to him.
Exactly.
Trevor Lawrence practiced Thursday with the aid of a brace, essentially spanning his entire leg. It's a high ankle sprain for Lawrence. They are not officially ruling him out. So let's talk about this for a second. Should he play? Shouldn't he play? If he plays, what's the impact? How much can you expect? If CJ Beathard plays, what's that do to the offense? Also, by the way, Christian Kirk has a core injury that requires surgery. Parker Washington slid into his spot, going 6 for 61 and 1. So a lot to break down with the Jags. Let's start with, does Trevor Lawrence play?
Yes.
You think he does?
Or he's gonna push so hard to play, but do I start him this week? I don't have the confidence to start him as of right now.
Yeah, and personally, I think he shouldn't play. I think that if you're feeling that good about playing, CJ Beathard is not the worst backup, and this game does not figure to be high scoring. Going up against a Cleveland team that's also definitely missing their starter and potentially missing their number one wide receiver and their number one running back. This is a game that you could win with CJ Beathard starting. So I don't know that you try to push Lawrence back here, risk him being hurt worse or long run into the playoffs if you're the coaching staff. Give him another week to get it right. Because if he's not mobile, with Cam Robinson being on the shelf, if he's not mobile, you don't need him back there being a sitting duck.
No, absolutely not. And plus, they use him as their franchise quarterback. So why do you want to put him on the field? But then you look at their schedule at the same time and what the rankings are, they need it to boost them up into it. Because I think, who was it that just jumped them from that loss? Because that loss to the Bengals, I think, dropped them down below. I had it open before my computer crashed, as always.
Standings. I got it. So no, they're still a game up on the Colts. Right now.
Still crash.
So there's still a game up on the Colts. And they're a game up on the Colts, and they have. Did they beat the Colts this year? Or they played yet this year? They're not in position to challenge for a bye, I don't.
Maybe that's what I was looking at when I was trying to figure it out.
Let's see.
But I think also Kansas City losing helped them.
So there's one game there. So the Jaguars are 2-0 against the Colts. So they effectively have 2 games in hand over the Colts on the division. The Ravens jumped them in the overall standings, and the number 1 seed is not out of the question, but they essentially have 2 games in hand over the Colts by virtue of the tiebreaker.
Maybe that's what I was looking at.
Because they own the
overall record. If they would have won, they would have actually been tied for first.
Yeah, that put the Ravens and the Dolphins ahead of them record-wise and puts them tied with the Chiefs. And I don't know how the tiebreakers stack up there. But it's not that they don't have a shot at the number 1 seed, but it's dwindling. If you get your guy hurt worse, you're going to be hurt more into the playoffs where you've got a couple games in hand over the Colts. There's significantly less danger of falling out of the playoffs in general. than you are I mean, they're really not in danger of falling out of the playoffs too badly.
No, I mean they're one game ahead of the Colts and the Texans. I mean
they got
the Texans play the Colts, so that should be a good game.
That should.
No, they don't. No, they don't. Am I right? Sorry.
No,
I'm like losing it.
Not this week, but do they have on the Texans? Because you're right.
No. So Houston's playing the Jets. That's right.
Yeah, Houston's playing the Jets. Against
Indianapolis is playing the Bengals,
and they're 1-1 against the Texans. So it goes to like strength of schedule and stuff after that. So I don't know how that. I'd imagine the Jaguars have a tougher strength of schedule as division winners than the Texans do. So
yes, yeah. As Texans had like one of the top picks.
So I believe Jacksonville holds tiebreakers over both the Colts and the Texans. Yeah. And yeah, I'm pretty sure they hold tiebreakers over both of them. So they are still in play for the number 1 seed. They got a not easy schedule left though. They've got Cleveland this week, and then actually their schedule isn't bad. The really only bad game left is against the Ravens. Everything points, looking at this strategy-wise, to where they should just sit him and roll with CJ Beathard, in my opinion.
Just let him heal?
Give him another week at least, where he's not a total sitting duck. And roll with CJ Beathard in this one. And I think that, because the risk is worth way more than the reward here, I think.
Yeah, because then after that they have the Buccaneers, the Panthers, and then the Titans,
which should be 3 winnable games.
Yeah, so yeah, they could go 4-1,
and they could win this one with Beathard too. I don't think that's out of the question. So,
yeah, and the Ravens game. So why not just hold them up for 2 weeks and then put it back out there Christmas Eve?
They could, and
that might not be a bad idea.
No,
but it also depends.
You hold them out. You hold them out this week, and then if you win, you have the option to hold them out next.
Yeah, and it sucks too because they have a 1:00 game, so it's not like they can say like, "Oh, well, let's just see what the Chiefs are going to do or the Broncos are going to do to figure out what we want to do."
Yeah. Or
it's me,
Ravens or anything like that. Talking Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. About the injury and looking for replacements.
About the injury and should he play because they're not ruling him out and he's practicing with a full leg brace.
It's a full Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean, with them being in playoff contention and them, competing with Houston and Indy, maybe?
They hold the time. So this is what we just went through. So let me just get you up to speed here.
Yeah, yep.
So they were passed by the Ravens and the Dolphins in the race for the number 1 seed. They're tied for the Chiefs. I don't know what the tiebreakers are there. They are 2-0 against Indy this week head-to-head and have the stronger strength of schedule than the Texans. So they're a game up on both of them and have the tiebreaker on both of them.
I think it's them having contention for the number 1 seed. I think it's what's going to probably keep them. Is it the right decision? I mean, we saw what happened to Cleveland when they wouldn't rest Baker.
Yeah.
Right? It just kind of went downhill. I mean, I know that was upper body injury, but...
Yeah. And what I had came to is that you don't play him this week because I think Beathard can beat Flacco or DTR. At least come close to it, right?
It's going to be an ugly game. Browns have, elite defense too. So, I mean, they should, right? In theory?
In theory, yes.
It's not like Lawrence is lighting the world up either. It's not like he's...
Right.
Like they can...
And he's going to be a fucking sitting duck against that elite defense. He's not going to have any mobility if he does play.
So be a lot of ETN and...
Which... If you're just going to game plan around ETN, why risk Lawrence for next week against Baltimore? Or if you win, you're in a totally different win anyway. You're in a totally different discussion. But, if Baltimore is one of the teams that you're chasing, why risk getting him more hurt this week? Because if you win, you can put yourself back on the same the same record as Baltimore. And you got a shot at getting the tiebreaker over him.
Yeah.
So, No, all signs point to Bethard here for me. And with Kirk out, I mean, that makes Calvin Ridley and Evan Ingram instant starts. But I want to talk about the rookie wide receiver there. They also had a really, really good game. By the way, your camera is like stuck in a perpetual loop, so it looks like you're just fucking tweaking right now for me.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh.
Really?
I'm showing myself fine.
Yeah, Dan looks fine to me too.
Uh-oh.
Well, you know, the only one that matters is me because I'm the one streaming it, right?
I was gonna say, let's go check the board.
Well, I can tell you exactly what the board says because I'm looking at it. Yeah,
it just looks like I'm constantly saying no.
Right. So
whatever you're saying, I'm saying no.
Just stop and restart.
Are you sure it's not the ceiling fan in your basement?
Stop and restart the camera real quick.
I think it's a ceiling fan in your basement.
It's not.
Is that a ceiling fan or no?
It is a ceiling fan.
I can see the shadow of it.
Yeah. Okay.
Better?
Yes, that's better.
No. Okay.
I don't see any difference, Dan. It looks the same to me.
Oh, thanks, Boo.
Hey, if you want to start streaming the fucking show, then your opinion can matter on that. But since you're not doing it, shut the hell up. Your opinion doesn't mean a goddamn
Hey, listen
thing.
here. It does mean something because I changed my beer. New beer, new me.
Are you not drinking an IPA tonight?
I am not.
Oh man, I am totally drinking a red ale. So I'm totally drinking an IPA. I'm drinking a version of a pale ale.
What are you drinking? Triptych.
Triptychs.
Galloping Ghost.
Galloping Ghost.
Red ale.
This used to be one of my favorite beers. This is known to have, it's gone through multiple, I think, versions. Whatever hops they used in this bill, it's just not as good this year. It's heavy terpene and grapefruit, like super heavy citrus, tangerine almost. It's just a little too